All right, guys, super excited to be here with my man, Bryan Dulaney with Cashflow Tactics. And he's got a lot of amazing things going on. And we've got some things brewing that we were just talking about. But I'm excited about this interview because we met just a couple of years ago in Russell Brunson's inner circle. We met. And then shortly after that, we ended up going on a snowboard trip together, which was fun. It was fun for you, at least, right?
Oh, dude, it was fun for me. I got the view of how skiing looks and snowboarding looks from like lying on your back. But no, it was a great time. It was a great time to connect with you, man, out on the slopes for sure.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of background. What I want Ryan to talk about today is, and I love your story, man. Ryan has built up the expertise in the financial category, financial services, helping people become financially free in 10 years or less. For some people, it's a lot less. But helping people become financially free, and he's developed an expertise. And one day, Ryan, you realize that there's a lot more people that need what you have to offer, right? There's a lot more people that need to understand what you know, right? Because traditionally, people do things very different, right?
100%,
So
man.
what I want you to talk about, Ryan, is really the topic is self-education is expected to explode over the next couple of years. By 2025, it's expected to be a $365 billion a day industry. Okay. Now, when you got in the game of using your expertise to serve others, you had no clue that stat existed, right?
Nah.
But a lot of people are becoming aware of it because we're really making it known, right? Forbes published the article on it saying that self-education is going to go from 400 million a day to $1 billion a day by 2025, right? And I think there's many reasons for that. Traditional education is broken at best. Trial by error is not. Nobody wants to do that anymore. People are waking up to the idea of learning from people who have specialized knowledge, right? So take us back in time. And guys, you might want to grab a pen and paper because every time Ryan speaks, he drops gold. So take us back to a time, Ryan, when you, maybe even before you started to develop your skill set in the area that you have.
Yeah, man. In fact, I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit on this. And first off, Bryan, man, such an honor and such a pleasure to be here with you today. I mean, we were kind of going back and forth before we went live. Man, what an amazing environment you have built to help other people tap into this skill set, this knowledge base, help them see their inner greatness and share that with other people. Because I believe, Bryan, at the core of the problems that humanity faces, there will never be a government, there will never be a law, there will never be a tax that's passed that will solve the problems that we face. Like, look, the reality of it is, Bryan, you have a very unique, specialized skill set that you've been honing, refining, and defining for years now. And when you live in your expertise and use your God-given talents in the service of other people, something really interesting happens. Number one, you find fulfillment in that. Like, dude, I mean, one of my favorite parts about working with you is how engaged and how fulfilled you got by help me tap into my inner expertise and get it out there. So you found fulfillment. You obviously make a good amount of money because dollars follow value. And ultimately, that's how problems are solved, right? Problems have a purpose in the world today. It's helping people wake up that someone out there has the skills, the talents, the gifts, and the abilities to solve the problems that I'm facing. And I have the skills and talents and abilities to solve problems that other people are facing. And that's really the solution to the problems that we see in the world. So that's where I want to start first and foremost, Bryan, just acknowledging who you are, what you've created. It's an honor to be here with you, especially in that studio that you got there. That's epic.
Yeah, thanks.
But no, so I was just having a conversation with my daughter about this yesterday at the dinner table. In fact, for the entire year this year, we've been having this conversation. She goes to school, right? She's in junior high. And she sends me text messages all the time that, Dad, I just don't like school. And I get it. I understand. Like, and she came home and was talking to me about the teachers were telling her how to take tests. Like, it doesn't matter if you know the information. How do you read a question on a test to get the right answer? Who cares about the information? It's just blows my mind that that's what we put our kids through. And I keep telling her, I'm like, Kiana, look, you can drop out anytime you want. You can drop out anytime you want. The only requirement is you tap into your gifts, your skills, and your abilities, and we create a business, because she wants to create a business around kids struggling through the anxiety that it's inevitable in the world that they live in today, as she calls it, the Joy Project. And so we've been going back and forth around this because school isn't the only way, but that's the trap that I fell into, right? For me, I dropped out of high school. That's why I give her the credit that she can drop out of high school, because I didn't like the sit in your seat, check off the boxes type of learning either. But and I didn't drop out of high school with like altruistic intentions. I'll be honest with you. I dropped out of high school because I was what my dad called a knucklehead back in the day. So it took me a couple years. I kind of messed around, out of not going to school. I kind of messed around. But when I finally got my life back together and I realized, man, I want to be something more. I don't want to just live in the gutter. I want to be something more. For me, it was really interesting, man. Looking back on it now, I can see exactly what happened. I couldn't see it in the moment because it was the only reality I knew. My social conditioning kicked in without ever consciously questioning it. You go to school, you get a job, you put your money in a 401k. Like that's the path of a responsible person, right? And so that's what I did. And I'll never forget, man, in college, I went to college not with the intention of, again, learning, but getting done as fast as I could so I could get out in the real world and start making some money. And so I got my 4-year degree in 2, right? And my senior year, I took 2 classes at the same time, and I would just rotate which day I went to which class. Because again, it wasn't about going to college to learn. It was just about checking the box off for me. But I had a side hustle. And, this was back before I knew the internet even existed for anything other than, searching sports scores or something like that. But I had a side hustle where I picked up a couple of high school kids and we aerated people's lawns and fertilized people's lawns. And I made more money on a weekend than I did in my first corporate job. I remember when I got my first paycheck after all the sacrifice, after, going through and doing all the tests and the homework and moving to a different state, I got that first paycheck and it was less than I was making on a Saturday as a side hustler to pay my way through college. And I remember again, sitting on the stairway leading into the bank thinking, I should just quit now, right? I should just quit now. But again, the social conditioning kicked in and I resolved right then and there to climb the corporate ladder as fast and as hard as I could. And for the next 5 years, man, I by the world standards, I did everything right? I went from making, $30,000, $40,000 a year to well over 6 figures. I was one of the fastest rising, people in the corporate chain, at least in the company that I worked in. And I went from managing barely myself to managing, large teams across multiple geographies. But something really interesting happened, Bryan. After 5 years of doing this rat race, 2008 rolled around. And for the first time, I learned some hard lessons financially. I learned that, I didn't have any control over the market. I didn't have any control over my 401k. And just because I was putting money in it, I thought that the more I put in there, the faster I could retire. That was kind of my mindset back in the day. And when I watched my 401k drop like a rock, I realized I was in trouble because I was doing the same thing all my coworkers were doing, all the people I looked up to in the professional world were doing. But yet somehow I was telling myself I was going to get a different outcome. We all lost money. I lost a bunch of money. But what was really worse was, Bryan, in 2000, right after 2008, the 401k falling apart for me, my family life nearly fell apart. And ultimately what I realized, Bryan, is I had been literally trading everything I really cared about, my family, my connection with my amazing wife, my connection with my children, been trading it all, my health, my well-being for the pursuit of one day. And my oldest son had to have an open heart surgery. And I'll never forget that phone call from my wife. I wasn't even I didn't even live in the same state as my family at that time when she told me. But those next 2 weeks being in the hospital with my son, I made a commitment. I made a commitment to figure out what I'm here for, like what my purpose is, to stop grinding on a corporate ladder that I didn't care about, hoping for one day, deferring my biggest life's visions and dreams. And I decided to start figuring out how to become free. Like ultimately at the core, that's what I really care about. I care about freedom. And for me, I found that in finance, but the journey over the next couple of years took me in some really interesting directions. Like I found, number one, that everything I thought I knew about money wasn't just, partially true and partially false. It was dangerous. It was misleading and it was outright wrong. And I realized I would never be free as long as I followed traditional finance. And so that journey took me on a path to figure out what is now Cashflow Tactics. But it took me on a path to figure out how to, as you can see behind me, which you helped me come up with, my man, how to truly take control, to truly rise up. and realize that money is just a tool. It's not the objective, it's just a tool. But in order for you to be free, you must rise up and take control so that you can live free. And that's how the whole journey started. I never saw myself doing what I do today. I joke with people that Cashflow Tactics started out of pain. I created Cashflow Tactics not for you, but for me, because I wanted to know how to control money. I wanted to know how to turn it into cash flow. I wanted to know how to become financially free. I was tired of trading my life away, hoping for one day.
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, what I love about that, first of all, dollars follow value, right?
Yeah.
I always say, and that's so true, right? It's biblical for quite frankly. I always say, you got to earn the right to make an offer, right?
Yeah.
And that ties really hand in hand with dollars follow value. I think if you first understand what Ryan said, which is dollars follow value, then you've got to think, what value do I bring to the table? We all bring value to the table because we've all developed some type of life experience, wisdom, knowledge, skills, right? And the reality is, like we kind of talked about in the beginning here about the self-education industry, people are willing to pay for that specialized knowledge, right? So the question for everyone listening is, dollars follow value, true. What value are you providing in the marketplace, right?
So powerful.
That attracts people to you, right?
We have inside of our community, Bryan, we have what we call the principles of production, right? Helping, for me, man, I'm so big on principles. Look, I believe that there are fundamental truths in all areas of life. And when we find ourselves in a position in life, whether it's with our physical health and well-being, our connection with God, or financially, when we find ourselves in a position in life where we don't have the results that we want, it's because we've deviated from a principle, from an absolute truth. And oftentimes we don't even know what the principles or the truths are. But man, they're so powerful once you understand them. Then you can use them like a tool. Well, I want this outcome. What's the principle required to get the outcome? And so, we talk about this all the time inside of our community. The first and the greatest investment that you will ever have, because so many people think of investing is outside of themselves. Like, I'm the financial guy and people come to me all the time and they ask me, where should I put my money? And if you're asking me that question, you're violating a principle that you probably don't know exists. Your greatest investment, Bryan, and you teach and preach this, right? Your greatest investment is in yourself. It's in your ability to invest in your mindset, seeing a vision, developing your unique God-given gifts, talents, and abilities, whatever that is, but investing in your mindsets, then translating those mindsets that of productivity, of abundance into skill sets. How do I take my mindset and how do I transfer it into a skill set that can do good into the world? And then the third most important investment is inside of your network, right? Mindset, skill sets, and networks. And if you can get really good at doing that, then you make money. Not earn money. I was earning money back in college. I was taught to trade my time for dollars, right? And you always hit a ceiling with that because there's only so much time I can trade, right? And at the end of the day, whether I'm making $20 an hour or $150,000 a year, what time is required to trade? And it doesn't matter what I do, I'll kind of hit that limit. So earning money and making money are two fundamentally different worlds. And when you understand how the art and the science of making money, dollars follow value. Exchange, when we get together, Bryan, and you have something that I want and I have dollars and I want the thing that you offer more than the dollars that I have, that exchange creates wealth, right? Because when I give you my dollars in exchange for you helping me build and launch my brand and develop my expertise, and that was the best investment I have ever made, ever. And you valued serving me and helping me and my team get everything off the ground. And we valued your expertise more than the dollars in our pockets. So when we exchanged, we both walked away wealthier. We got exactly what we wanted. And profit is a tool of validation, right? So dollars follow value, exchange creates wealth, and profit means that it's validating that you've done the right thing. You've made a difference. You've made an impact in the world. And I love those principles because at the end of the day, if you're stuck with money, that's where you start.
Yeah, that's so good, man. And so one of the things what triggered when you just said that, one of the things that I just filmed a video around it just minutes ago before we got on the line here. And it was the number one way to produce results in the self-education industry for yourself and others. Okay, so I will kind of cut to the chase on that one and talk about for a second for you, because there was a time where you were in learning mode, you tried to do some things yourself. Basically what I say is the fastest way to impact more people's lives is to take your skill set. It's what we did, right? You took your skill set and my skill set and our skill sets as a team, and we collaborated our resources together, our specialized knowledge, and then we were able to launch that strategically on the internet, right? To more people. So the other way, right, is you could try to do it yourself, right? Which is riddled with all types of booby traps, if you will. Or you could try to like, the other way was like having someone do it with you or coaching you through it.
Yeah.
Right. And I always say that the slowest path is doing it yourself. The next slowest path is hiring a coach to just kind of walk you through it and ask you the right questions. Because that's what coaching is. Coaching is asking the right questions to get you to do it yourself.
Yep.
So it's you're back in the same category. The fastest path that I've found is aligning yourself with people who have specialized knowledge, collaborating that together, and then going forward and bringing forth your expertise.
100%.
So talk about that, because that's really a major point that I really want more people to understand. Now, you do have to choose the right people, right? I think you tried to do that before we met, before we went snowboarding, right? And that didn't work out so well. And there was probably a number of reasons for that. But I think it's important for people to know that, so think about this for a second, Ryan. At the core of serving others, okay, you have an expertise. Do you help? So think about this for a second. Taking your knowledge, your skill set, your wisdom, and your expertise, the results that you've been able to produce for yourself and others, okay, you know what that is. That's financial freedom. When you and your team get behind somebody and do it for them, okay? Now think about, like, one category of what you do is, life insurance stuff. So, okay, are they going to be more successful if they go write their own policy or if you do it? Kind of silly question, but you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah. 100%, dude. And let me kind of walk you through that in two ways. And I'll kind of walk you through, this is how I discovered it, man. And the interesting thing about life will give you the lessons that you need to learn over and over and over until you solidify them, right? Just because you learn a lesson one time, we have short-term memories and we forget a lot, right? And so just like you said, man, after 2008, my 401k crashed, like I tried so many different strategies. And in the beginning, I realized, like, I was trying stock trading and option trading and, puts and calls and foreign currency and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it all came back to, I was playing the same game, right? I still didn't have any control, and the highs were higher and the lows were lower. And so it wasn't until I walked away from the world, I'll never forget, I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it helped me realize and understand one of the truths that we talk about inside of money, that 97% of traditional financial advice is dangerous, misleading, or outright wrong, especially if you want to be financially free in 10 years or less. Okay. It just doesn't work. So I'll never forget, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It shifted my mindset of what was required to become financially free. And I went out and I tried to start doing it myself. Now, this was a tremendous learning opportunity for me, right? Because now I'm going into a world of investing in cash flow and real estate and, high cash value life insurance, all these things. And for every step forward I would take, I would inevitably take 2 steps, 3 steps, 5 steps back. And it was because I kept bumping up against my own lack of understanding. And I kept also bumping up against my own limited belief in myself that I could actually do what was written in a book. And I played that game for a couple of years until finally I got smart. And finally I realized, look, if I want to go fast, which I 100% did, I've got to find someone that's done it. Not just in a book. Like, I couldn't go say, hey, Robert Kiyosaki, what should I do next? Right. So I had to go find someone that had done it. And that took me a little bit of time. But when I found the person that had done it, man, it was crazy what happened. Because when I really sat down and I looked at his results, because look, there's a lot of hype out there. There's a lot of marketers out there. You have to look at their results. When I looked at his actual results, and I realized, man, this guy's done exactly what I want to do. It gave me a tremendous amount of confidence, because the more I interacted with him, the more I realized he's a pretty normal dude, right? I mean, he's super smart in this area, but man, if he can do it, I can do it. And even better, once I started seeing other people that he had trained, taught and educated, I realized if he could do it, and then all of these other people could do it, then maybe there's a possibility that if I just fall in line and follow the exact proven path, that I could do it as well. And that skyrocketed my results. I went from never being able to be financially free to I did it in 4 years. I walked away from a 6-figure job in 4 years. And here's how the whole thing started. In the beginning, I had a lot of people saying, Ryan, you're crazy. And honestly, by myself, I felt crazy, right? But as I started getting results in my life because I was following this proven path, the same people that said I was crazy started coming back and asking me, how are you doing it? Like, how did you do it? And this is ultimately what led to me tapping into something I didn't realize was an inner skill or talent of mine. I love training. I love teaching. I love guiding, especially helping people get out of the trap that I found myself in to become free. And so after leaving the corporate world, I didn't see myself leaving the corporate world to do what I'm doing today. But man, I found that I just had so much passion in it. And so, for the first 3-4 years, man, we were doing awesome. Like we were, we started this little teeny company and we were working with people face to face, right? One-on-one. And as I started seeing their results in getting, financially free and taking control over their money, I realized, man, I almost felt like this moral obligation to tell more people about it. Because, man, how good would the world be if there were more people that were free, that weren't making their decisions primarily driven by money? Like the world would radically change. And so, man, at that point, I felt this desire to start amplifying this message and to help more people see and understand it. But man, I kept bumping up against so much, just difficulty because, man, I'm fighting a machine like Wall Street. I mean, we've just been indoctrinated like I was indoctrinated that you go to school, you get your job, and wealth is created in the stock market. And, breaking that down was massively difficult. But then also injecting leverage into a business that's primarily face-to-face was, tremendously difficult. And when I came to you, we had spent about 2 years. And we did the same thing, right? We read some books. That's how we found out Russell Brunson. We read .com secrets and all that stuff. And that was a revelation to say, oh, this is how you take it online. But still, at the end of the day, our passion and expertise isn't in building funnels. Our passion and expertise is helping people apply a very specific financial strategy to become financially free in 10 years or less. And we just wanted to use the funnel to get more people through and more efficiently help them get the results. But so we tried to do it on our own in the beginning, and you can, without going into the whole story there, the results of that. We sucked, right? Then we hired some coaches, right? And we said, okay, coach us on how to do the things that we want to do. And they were only marginally invested in our business, right? I mean, because what we do is so radically different, like even the coach, they couldn't ever figure it out. Well, they just kept putting us in a box of traditional finance. And look, this is how I talk to people. I talk to people in a hat and a t-shirt behind a wall that says "Rise Up, Live Free." I'm not talking from a mahogany table with a suit and tie. It's a whole different ballgame. And so, we've stumbled around for about 2 years with very limited results in the marketing arena. Now, our business was growing because we had success with the clients that we were working with. And so we had tons of referrals coming in. But man, Bryan, I'll never forget when I sat down with you. It was the exact same way I felt when I sat down with my first mentor in the game of becoming financially free. Like I got to sit down with you and I realized, holy crap, you've done it. I mean, the exact thing that we want to do, you've done it. And not only have you done it, here's the people that you've also helped do it. And I'll never forget, again, that immediate connection, that immediate confidence that I had when I realized Bryan's really good at what he does. He gets results for other people. And if I just fall into a proven system and a path that he's used and he's used with other people, then maybe if I do the work, I can get the results as well. And the next 3 months and then ultimately 12 months after that of working with you radically altered what is now today Cashflow Tactics.
Yeah. And what I think is amazing is when you guys launched, right? Your first goal was to fill up your mastermind in a year.
Yeah.
Right. And we completely,
dude, our first goal was to just have a webinar, like to have a message because remember that for the first 3 months, so much of what we do is helping people unlearn what they have learned and then have to install a whole new program around money. And we had a lot of it in place because we'd been working with people, but we never put it together in the form that you helped us put it together in a specific step-by-step webinar that leads then to, hey, here's your next step to join a mastermind where it's not, I'm talking to one person at a time. We can talk to multiple people at a time. So, I mean, that was you helped us build a scalable system. And That was massive for us right there. I mean, because
Well, I think,
up to that point, we'd never done that.
well, yeah. So you guys were doing a lot of one-on-one work,
Yeah.
right? I think from what I remember, you guys were doing a ton of one-on-one work for free.
That's
right?
the funniest part, dude. We joke about that all the time. Like if I pull up my Stripe account right now, in the last couple of years, we've made millions of dollars on the things that we used to give away for free. And the crazy part is when we gave it away for free, no one paid attention, and we'd have to just train them one-on-one when we were looking at them in the eye. But now that we put it behind a firewall of, hey, you have to pay a marginal amount of money to learn this information, people care. And they actually listen and they take advantage of it. And when I say we've made millions of dollars, like it's crazy that leverage of putting a value ladder and a price point in front of very highly valuable information like that has made such a difference inside of our business. People come in and they're committed. They understand what we're doing. They've paid a price to be there. And man, it's taken, what we used to do with people one-on-one, 9, 10, 12 meetings, we can now do it in 2 or 3 because we can leverage the technology, leverage the automation, and then still build a customized game plan for that individual.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what would your tip be? And we're going to wrap this session.
No, we just got going.
I know, we just got going. I know. I'm getting the call here. What would you say would be a few tips for people that are at a place where you were before we launched? Because you launched, you replaced, people started paying you for your time. You filled your mastermind in 4 months. You eventually were speaking at Funnel Hacking Live on stage in front of thousands of people, in front of Grant Cardone's event, another, tens of thousands of people. So you've had tremendous success and tremendous impact, right? But you didn't start there. And that's where a lot of people aren't there yet, right? Yeah. So what would you say in the current climate that we're in? What would you say to someone who wants to use their skills, their knowledge, their gifts, their expertise that they've accumulated to help more people, but to do it through the power of, digital marketing, through the power of the internet?
Well, I'll give you just a couple tips, man, because at the end of the day, there's a couple of things required. And I believe in this world of digital marketing, education online, there's tremendous opportunity there. But the first thing that you've got to tap into is an inner sense of commitment. There's thousands of people. There's so many people out there that are interested. And they're interested in making money online. They're interested in developing their skills. They're interested in putting a funnel out there, writing a book, whatever it is, they're interested. But when the going gets tough, because it's not easy, when the going gets tough and it requires more sacrifice, it requires discipline, it requires waking up early, staying up late, learning and doing things that you're uncomfortable with. Like I wasn't naturally comfortable to go on camera. You remember our first webinars? I was like a dud on camera. And so but I was committed. Okay. And so when things got difficult, I wasn't constantly vacillating between, do I want to do this or am I out? I was committed. And so when things got difficult, I said, okay, what do I need to do to punch through this difficulty to gain the expertise that I need to get onto the next challenge? So that's number one. Like, question yourself and understand whether you're interested or committed. That's number one. Number two, like once you found yourself committed, go back to what we talked about in the beginning. Your best investment is in your mindsets, your skill sets, and your network. And if you're falling short in any area of your life, it's a deficit in one of those areas. So start with improving your mindsets. You can't see abundance until you think abundance, right? You can't exercise a skill set that you mentally haven't developed. But if you've developed the mindset and the skill set, and now you're lacking the ability to amplify that message, there are highly trained people. And I can't remember if there's this guy it's Bryan Dulaney, right? There's people that are highly trained at helping you do it, because the third investment is your network. I can't tell you my business, my life has been, I can never quantify how abundantly it's been blessed by, number one, joining the inner circle. That was a scary investment to make, but it was an investment in a network, because again, when I got into the room of all these entrepreneurs that had done the things that I wanted to do, my confidence soared, because I realized, man, if they can do it, I can do it. And then when I got with you, Bryan, again, my confidence soared, because look, mindsets, skill sets, network. So get committed. Then the fastest path is to find someone who's done exactly what you want to do and fall in line. Validate. Don't buy the marketing hype. Validate that they actually have the results that they're selling you or that they're talking about. And then once you've done that, I think the best thing we did the first 2 years before we started working with you, Bryan, there's 1,000,001 ways to do this online, right? And we tried 1,000,001 ways, and we would try this way and that way. And every time we talked to one person, they're like, oh, you should try this, you should try that. It wasn't until we said, okay, forget everything. We're just going to break it down to what's the one thing. And we're going to get really good at this one thing before we try to bolt or add anything else onto it. And man, Bryan, we did the webinar. We did the webinar for 18 months straight. Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year. I mean, it didn't matter. We did the webinar for 18 months straight until I could do that thing in my sleep. And so focus on one thing at a time. And then once that one thing is done, then add on the next thing. So once the webinar was done and our mastermind was full, we just did it over and over and over again. And then we built out more parts of the value ladder. Then we launched a podcast, but do one thing at a time and get really good at that thing and then move on to the next.
Such good advice, man. So good. Hope you guys are taking notes and applying this information, because this is straight wisdom. So thank you, Ryan. It's always a pleasure. We could sit here and talk for hours.
Yeah, man. I think I'm gonna get on a plane. I'm gonna come out there. We're just gonna do a news anchor show right there, side by side. It'll be awesome.
That would be epic. Let's go. All right, guys. So I hope you found that helpful, and I hope you were able to take some of those nuggets that were shared today, and I want you to apply them. Okay. When you apply them, tell me about it. Okay. Message me on Facebook. Send us an email. I always love to hear about the impact from information, knowledge, wisdom that we've shared or we've been able to pull from people. I would encourage you to participate in what Tony Robbins and Dean Gracios here are doing with their challenge. If you haven't been a part of the 5-day challenge, you're missing out. Go join the challenge, watch the videos, and apply that as well. You can find that at projectnextbonuses.com. And for those of you that want to go deeper, for those of you that know that you want to learn from Tony and you want to learn from Dean and you want to learn all of the stuff that they have in store for you about the best ways to launch a digital course, to monetize your expertise online. For those of you that already know you want to go deeper, we're going bigger and better than we went the first 2 years. And we went big and bold the first 2 years. But this year, we've gone absolutely crazy with bonuses to support you. And that's really what they are. They're bonuses to support you on your journey. You've got Tony, you've got Dean, you can learn from them. They're great mentors and leaders in their own right. And then you've got us. We're here to support you. This is what we do every single day of our lives. We help experts launch their expertise online. Okay? It would be nothing more than amazing to support you on that journey and hook you up with all this amazing stuff that you get for free, right? So if you're gonna buy their program anyways, you might as well get a bunch of amazing stuff for free that we've put together. And the purpose is to support you, okay? We wanna see you successful, because when you're successful, then you're able to help other people. And that's how we create the ripple effect. And I believe that's how we change the world. We change the world by you rising up, by you becoming a producer, not just a consumer, but you become a producer in your own life and experience, and you add value to other people's lives and you get paid for it, right? I mean, think about it. What better than that? You getting paid for your knowledge, your expertise, and your skills, and then that blesses someone else's life. And that's why I always say, bless and be blessed. It's a biblical principle that when you follow it, works. How do I know this? I've been doing this for over 15 years, okay? And I would love to support you on your journey. So go to projectnextbonuses.com, register for the challenge, buy their course, and get all of our incredible bonuses that we have for you for free. If you have any questions, just feel free to send an email to support@perfectfunnelsystem.com, and we'd be happy to support you there.